You guys might have thought that we were done with the sermons, but we still preaching. This time, I'm not even going to try to pronounce his first name, Stevenson. How you doing, Mike?
I'm doing good. Rhamondre Stevenson, the guy who,
There we go.
for all intents and purposes, replaced Trey Sermon at Oklahoma after he transferred. I thought it was only fitting to do him next. And let's just hop right in, kind of into the background. As you can see, not a ton of production at Oklahoma. As we mentioned in the sermon video, there were a lot of guys getting a lot of carries in that Oklahoma backfield in 2019. Rhamondre was one of them, but not quite to the extent that you might have liked to see. And then this year, obviously only played in 6 games towards the latter half of the season, but was very effective, averaged over 100 yards per game in kind of that bell cow lead back role. So, Mike, obviously we've talked about the small sample size before with running backs. That's got to be a concern with Rhamondre, right?
Absolutely. And for him, it might be a blessing and a curse. So small sample size, not a lot of film, but at the same time, he's a big back. He's a big boy. He's a physical play style, and so maybe having those, limited attempts, that might actually work out in his favor in the long run. That just at least my thoughts. But yes, it's obviously a concern. There's not a whole lot of film to work off of, especially when you're in a class with backs like Najee Harris, ETN, that have plenty of film to work off of. It doesn't bode well for you, but yeah, definitely a concern.
And speaking of concerns, I don't even know if this is a concern. This might be a positive, right? But I've kind of kept this hidden from Mike. I didn't let him know this before, but so Rhamondre played this last season at 6', 247, right? We know the power was there. The speed and acceleration was a little bit questionable. He weighed in at the Senior Bowl just a month after the season at 227. So I don't even know if this film can be regarded. I don't know what we're looking at here because I give him a 9.75 in power. The man's lost 20 pounds. So he already had great vision. We thought his speed and acceleration was questionable, but now what's he working with? I actually think he becomes a more intriguing prospect if he can stay in that 9 power range. If he just loses a little bit of power, but picks up some burst, I really do think that Rhamondre here would be right in that discussion for kind of that second tier of running back prospects, Mike. I thought he had great balance. I thought he was fantastic in pass protection. I should note that. He was by far my highest graded guy in pass protection, which, I mean, he's almost the size of a tight end, so that's understandable at 247. The question is, obviously, again, how's it going to translate at 227? Mike, how do you think he graded out, and do you think these grades even mean anything now that he's essentially a completely different human being?
Oh wow, yeah, 20 pounds is a lot. It's still a big back though. 220 is still a big back. So um, the power still should be above average if you can pick up on the speed and acceleration. And we were talking before this, but this is the first running back that I took a look at, and I really kind of almost wish speed and acceleration were two different categories. Just taking a look at it, he had the burst. Once he his vision was really good. Once he found his gap and where he was going to take the ball, he burst through the line. Like he definitely you couldn't one arm tackle him. Like it wasn't going to cut it because he was making it through the gap. But as soon as he got to the open field, that's when you started seeing some, and that's where I feel like the speed comes in a little bit more. He was not running away from any secondary or even some linebackers were catching up to him. But with 20 pounds lighter, that's a lot less weight to be running with. So if he could pick some of that up, that could be huge. But also maybe you want to have him as a bigger back. I don't know. I thought he looked really good. And if you look at his averages, average per attempt, those for his 2 years playing, like they suffice. Yeah. Is he going to get it in chunk plays? Probably not. But in big plays, no. But he's going to get it in chunks and at a consistent rate. So, yeah, 20 pounds. Wow. That's a
It's
lot.
interesting. It's interesting because I mean they had him out there at the Senior Bowl running routes and he looked solid. He looked a lot more dynamic and this would kind of be the perfect time to see what is this 40-yard dash, because a lot of people, I saw him listed as a fullback on some websites and now I mean that's a completely whole different discussion going from 247 to 227. I mean that's the type of difference that my teammates have made over it's taken a whole offseason, a whole couple of years to make, and he somehow did that in a month. That actually has me kind of excited that maybe he trimmed some of that excess fat and now we're looking at a leaner, more game shape ready Rhamondre Stevenson. And I'll pull up the comparison to the other backs, even though, like I said, I don't really know how how applicable these grades are anymore. But a lot of people have kind of compared him to Le'Veon Bell at Michigan State, where he was playing heavier in I believe the 230s, high 230s, and then prior to the draft cuts down, and you kind of saw that vision and patience was still there, but now the burst in power was as well. And I don't know if that's a perfect comparison. In all honesty, I think Rhamondre is more of a physical player than a Le'Veon, and much less of a receiver. But at the same time, I think that you can kind of see the parallels in a sense. So Mike, what do you think not only about the comparisons between Rhamondre and Le'Veon, but Rhamondre and the rest of the class?
Yeah, it's high. It's definitely high. You got to think about the Oklahoma offense a little bit. It's always been, a super productive offense, good offensive line. So I think there's some concerns there. No, I like him. If I'm going for a power back, I've liked what I saw from Stevenson more than I like what I saw from Najee Harris, which is a super unpopular opinion, which you also are kind of in that same boat, similar category. And I think he might have a little bit more, there might be a little bit more potential here. The ceiling might be higher for him, depending on if he gets the opportunities. So, no, I don't mind it at all. I'm very interested to see how he tests and grades in the athleticism department. But I think like a better comparison. I don't know why when I was watching film, it was almost like Alfred Morris with the Washington when he was, in his heydays when he had a couple 1,000-yard seasons. Like that's kind of like the kind of running style I saw. And it's, again, not necessarily a great comparison, but bigger back, he's not going to, be necessarily a big play kind of guy, but he's going to get 5-6 yards pretty consistently in a lot of games. And I think there's a lot of potential.
No, that's an interesting comparison because I feel like after the tape, a lot of people just initially went to the extreme, the Eddie Lacy, the Marshawn Lynch, the guys like that. Well, Garrett Blunt was one that I actually saw a decent bit, but if he remains, I should say, at 227, 230 ish, then yeah, I do think a guy like Morris might be a better comparison where he's definitely more dynamic than say Garrett Blunt was. You know what I mean? So I don't necessarily hate that at all. I actually think that would be kind of optimal for him to pick up a little bit of speed, like we said, in kind of that Alfred Morris style of play. So that's not a bad one by any means. I know I had to break the comparisons up here on 2 slides because we were having so many names, but hopefully you guys get the picture of how at least I think he stacks up. And Mike, is that pretty much it, or what else do you got here?
I think that's it. But if you think we stack up with, football YouTube, NFL YouTube, then you should definitely, leave a like, subscribe, leave a comment. We like seeing comments and we like seeing subscribes. But if you think Stevenson really is all that, and you think might be a really nice addition to someone's running back field, let us know. If you think he's absolutely trash and you hate everything that Oklahoma football has to offer, let us know. We like seeing that. So we appreciate it if you guys have stuck this far. But anything else from you, Mike?
Just real quick. I mean, when I searched up Rhamondre Stevenson's name, one of the first things that popped up was this thumbnail of a guy reviewing him, and he had Rhamondre's picture and like the vomiting emoji. So if you don't like Rhamondre, just like put the vomit emoji in the comment section for that guy, because he got like 500 views. We're trying to get that. We're trying to get that here. We're on the road to 100 subscribers, but hey, if we can get 500 views and a couple of vomit emojis, I'll be okay with that. So with that being said, we're mic'd up and we're micing out. Peace, guys.
Doses.